to All In Uncensored with Ryan and Brian.
James just said, thanks for having me in for the lucky one. Lucky number 13.
Episode 13.
There it is.
This is awesome.
Welcome to our All In Uncensored, episode 13 with James Upchurch today.
Howdy, howdy.
Welcome, James.
Thanks.
We're excited to...
Appreciate you having me in.
Yeah, we're excited to dig in with you today.
This is fun. I'm excited.
Bridge the gap.
Cool.
James has been a buddy of mine now for, 15, 18 years-ish?
Going on that, yeah.
I was invited to his wedding, and we didn't know each other.
It's true. My father-in-law invited him and invited Ryan, and the only thing I knew from the wedding was that he was there and that he and one of his business partners bought us a really expensive crystal bowl. And I remember opening it and thinking, what in the world are we going to do with this thing? And I'm not even sure I talked to Ryan at the wedding, but he was there, and I'm sure he enjoyed the reception because it seemed like most people did.
So. What did you actually end up doing with
Blue
it?
Juice. It's probably still in the box somewhere in my house.
I have some of those from my wedding from 24 years ago.
Same here.
Yeah. It's sitting with our china, I'm sure.
Untouched.
So
that's when we met. Tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you came from, what you did.
We got to have that conversation. Yeah, so
let's not go back that far.
Yeah, let's not go back that far. I was a military kid growing up. I was born here in Tacoma, lived in Germany for a while, did a stint in South Carolina in middle school. So moved around a little bit, but spent most of my life here in the Pacific Northwest, living in Gig Harbor. Went to college up at University of Washington, got my degree up there in business, and then spent about 18 years of my life working for a company doing sales and living my life in the corporate world and growing that business for those 18 years. And then made a switch about just over 5 years ago to being a general contractor, doing some construction, building homes, and it was a big shift.
That's the reason why you're in here.
That's what I suspected.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was for my good looks.
We want to talk about you and how you became a home builder and a little bit about what you're seeing in the market now.
Great.
But let's rewind a little bit back to your days of selling swag.
Let's do it. Okay.
I look in my closet these days, and I'm sure yours is a lot more than mine.
Probably.
But in my closet, at least half of my wardrobe came from your old company.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about LR, for example.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess a little context as to what this previous company was. It was a company called Codis Design, and we did promotional products and custom branded apparel. So that encompassed everything from, as you're alluding to, shirts and sweatshirts and hats and et cetera for everything from our camping trip, LR, Lincoln Rock. We've been doing that for quite some number of years now, and every year we've made shirts for the camping trip. So it spanned the gamut from that to, producing logoed stuff for companies. We did a lot of work with Alaska Airlines. That was one of my big clients. So we outfitted their company store, a lot of marketing materials, et cetera. We did fulfillment programs, but a very different world than I live in now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you think that tied into what you're doing now? And how did you become a builder?
Sure. I think the biggest takeaway from my time at Codis that's helped with the transition was really just on the business side of stuff. At Codis, I was there from the start and was fortunate enough to be a part of building a company from literally working out of a fraternity bedroom with one other person and selling T-shirts to girls in the Greek system at University of Washington. And growing the business from that to a $55 million a year company with several warehouses across the country and over 200 headcount. So going through that process and watching the struggles and the joys of building a business was really helpful and kind of gave me the confidence to strike out and say, hey, I can go out and do this again in a totally different industry, totally different field. But to kind of just have the confidence and willingness to make that leap and go for it. So
that's pretty awesome that this is the first time I'm hearing this. So
okay.
It's cool because Ryan and I have struck out on our own.
Absolutely.
And now we're building from basically scratch and we're going to try to scale up. So
absolutely.
It's going to be awesome to be able to lean on you around your campfire and give us pointers on scaling. So
yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And it's, Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
That's neat.
So mostly what you're building is single-family residence.
Absolutely, yeah. That's been our main focus. We started Contour in 2019, January of 19. We got our start. Our first project was actually an attached single-family structure, so it was two homes, but they shared a wall. And then most of what we've done thus far has been, like you said, just single-family residences, with a little bit in multifamily, a couple of duplexes, a fourplex. And we are getting ready to strike out on an apartment project that we're very excited and very nervous for.
I've seen the project.
Yeah,
It was pouring down rain. I stayed in the car.
yeah, it was a good place to be.
You jumped out and had to go move some Visqueen.
Move some Visqueen and throw some straw on the ground, because that is the gloriousness that is a general contractor. Is you do a bunch of. Well, I tell people I'm a glorified garbage man. I drive around job site to job site and pick up the trash and take the dump trailers to the dump and
Sweep up the floors for
the floors.
subs,
Yeah, man, it's just it's a lot of babysitting and a lot of cleaning.
So being a general contractor, you're building houses for spec and you're selling those for the most part. I
Correct.
know you've dabbled in a little bit of rehab and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like to do that? And actually, what is your perfect build? What's your perfect house? Like if you could do this 1,000 more times,
Sure.
what's your ideal?
Well, kind of a two-prong answer. There's an ideal from what I enjoy the most, and there's an ideal from what I think is most scalable and I don't want to say the easiest. That's really not the right way to think of it, but the most fluid, the most consistent. What we really enjoy are what we call custom specs. So it's not an entry-level home. It's kind of a higher-end home. We've done several of these on bigger pieces of property, bigger homes, a lot more upgrades. And we really enjoy those. They have a little bit of a slower cadence to the project. It's not as chaotic, if you will, and it provides us with a lot of opportunity to put our own touch into these homes and self-perform some of the upgrades. And when we approach a project like that, we try to find 10 things throughout the build that we can put our hands on and do that set it apart from what else is out there on the market. And I think that's important once you start touching on those higher price points and those types of buyers. And we just really enjoy it because my business partner, Chris, and I have a lot of fun just goofing around, turning on the music, doing flooring, doing stonework, doing, custom shelving, doing whatever that looks like. It's a lot of fun.
He's a funny one.
Yes, he is.
He sent me a text the other day. He was deep diving on my Instagram account.
Okay.
And he goes, "It's really strange how many videos I've watched of you now. And it's another great day." And he sends me a screenshot of one. I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, and then he sends me another screenshot. He's got his lovely picture of him.
Without clothes on?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I was going to ask about that.
You don't see dinglings or anything, but
you got lucky then.
It's all glory. I'm like, bro.
Yeah.
We share a birthday? That's enough.
That's enough. We don't need to share these intimate photos also. Yeah.
Share the birthday, but not the birthday suit, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Keep the suit in private.
He's awesome. I love Chris Valley.
Yes, sir. He's a good guy to have on your team, and we have a ton of fun. So that's one component of, like I said, that's where I think we enjoy our time and our those types of builds are a lot of fun. Somewhere that I see being more scalable, more predictable, more fluid, like I mentioned, the entry level spec home is. It fits that. It's, you develop a system, you get your processes in place, and then you're able to easily replicate that time and time again. And so I see that as kind of the meat and potatoes of what we're going to do for the next probably 5 years, and have a lot of spec builds coming up, entry level spec builds. And then our hope and what we've talked about is, kind of our longer term plans. Let's get through the property that we currently have, build those spec homes, and then shift to maybe doing like 2 of the custom specs, as we call them, per year, because we just absolutely love it and have a good time with it. So,
are you guys looking to maybe get into any larger plat developments where you've got like 10 or 12 builds in one plat?
Yeah, so that's kind of when I say work through the property that we have, that's exactly what we're talking about.
Okay.
So we've got 3 different plats that we're waiting on right now, all in Kitsap County, and Kitsap County as a municipality is very slow, and so we're waiting on the county to do their thing. But we've got a 17 lot plat, a 9 lot short plat, and a 22 lot plat.
Oh, perfect.
That we're working on right now. And that's been interesting. This has been my first time really going through the full gamut of the development process and the plat process. And at times it's drinking from a fire hose and learning on the fly. But again, having gone through building a business in the past and going through that process of kind of like just flying by the seat of your pants and learning as you go is pretty familiar. So
I've kind of done the opposite of you. So I came from the dirt world and construction.
Okay.
Yeah. So I graduated with a degree in geology.
Okay.
Went into work, the geotechnical engineering firm out of Kirkland.
Great.
Worked on Northwest Landing, Redmond Ridge, all those when they were just in their infancy.
Wow. Yeah. Those are big plats.
Big plats. Yeah. Big underground utilities, retention ponds, that kind of thing.
Yep.
So I kind of understand what you're going through with like some of the initial permitting and planning and some of the extra work you have to do.
Yeah.
Is that too close or something?
That's rubbing.
Oh. We don't want rubbing.
Rubbing's racing. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go that route. That's funny.
You touched a little bit on custom specs.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about doing custom homes?
We have.
For people.
We've done, let's see, 3 of those now. 3? I think 3. We've done 3 customs, and nothing wrong with customs. It's just a very different process when you're dealing with homeowners, especially homeowners that are building, kind of their forever home. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of expectation and hope and enthusiasm and emotion just wrapped up in that project for them, and that adds a lot of time, a lot of hand-holding, a lot of changes throughout the process. So I think my preference is to leave the custom homes to a custom home builder. Yeah. I just think that it's better for the client and it's better for us, right?
You know what? I heard, so I have a realtor friend who's in construction and development.
Okay.
And I think we did a major rehab. I mean, they turned this 2-bedroom home in Ruston into like this 5,000 square foot view home. Wow. But the realtor told his clients, you guys need to go to marriage counseling before you start this project.
Yes.
So when you said custom home with a lot of emotion, I'm thinking, do you recommend marriage counseling first?
Absolutely. Yeah. Even if you're single, go to marriage counseling. I mean, because it's super stressful, And
they're married to you
for a year. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And, it's, you're sitting there at 8:30 in the evening with your family and you're getting texts and pictures and calls and, hey, I just came across this on Pinterest and I really want to incorporate this into our home now. And it's like, okay, well, that's great. Well, we just finished that part of the project yesterday. So now we're going to start over and scrap it. And
yeah, I can imagine building a home is one thing. Building a home with the homeowners, it's a completely different ballgame.
It really is. One of the things that Chris and I have talked about in relation to that is, the difference between a custom home and what we're calling the custom specs is, let's say the flooring that you had ordered ends up being out of stock or on back order. It's real easy for us on a custom spec to say, bummer, but it's real easy to just pivot real quick and say, okay, we're going to pick this other similar product and go with it. Whereas when a homeowner has now fallen in love with materials and finishes or, whatnot, it's not as easy to pivot and pick something different. And it's, again, that's where that emotion comes in, that it's a real big bummer to the homeowner and they get frustrated and, we have to kind of take the lashing for it as the general contractor. They don't know, they don't see that, it's a supply chain issue or it's, especially going through COVID, like, holy cow.
I would imagine that's what I was going to say. Over the last few years, this COVID and so many supplies, a shortage.
Absolutely.
That's got to be a nightmare.
That was a nightmare. We were doing 2 of the 3 customs we did were throughout COVID. And, wow. So that getting the material. And then the other thing that was just wild through COVID was the price increases that we were seeing.
Lumber skyrocketed, didn't it?
Oh my gosh, lumber went out of control. Everything. Drywall, conduit, lumber, just across the board, costs were going up. And not only were they going up, but they were repeatedly going up. So, we may be used to seeing 2 price increases a year from the drywall supplier. If I remember correctly, I think that we saw 9 separate price increases in 1 calendar year. In the middle of COVID. So
that's insane.
So you've got these homeowners that, again, are super emotionally invested in what they're doing, and we're having to try and develop a budget for them and then stay within that budget and or communicate with them why, hey, that number we gave you 8 months ago isn't going to happen anymore.
It's
like
70%
it is
more.
drastically different
Yeah.
now, and I have no control over that. Sorry, but yeah,
we can stop the build.
We are where we are, and we just, all we can do is react the best that we can, and that was challenging.
What advice would you give somebody going out and saying they want to build their own house?
Mm-hmm.
Give kind of a start to finish. What do they have to look for? Just starting with looking for the land, going to utilities, plans and specs.
And that's actually a really good question, quick, Ryan, because we come across a lot of clients, hey, I want to find my own piece of land and build my own house. And we kind of get a little hesitant with that, but maybe you can elaborate.
I know it's not your bread and butter, but you deal with with the whole process from beginning to end.
Right. And, I have the unique perspective because I'm out there looking for land for stuff to build too. So even if it's not a custom, I'm real familiar with the process of what you need to look for and be mindful of, and the things that can jump up and scare you along the way that you may not have expected. It all starts with finding the right land. That's super important. And I think that getting connected with a really good real estate agent and somebody who knows the area you're looking in, and hopefully somebody who's probably worked with builders before and has at least watched the process of a raw land deal move forward into construction. So you got to find the right land, and utilities is a big one for that. That can get really expensive.
Yes.
If you're in a city and you're dealing with sewer and public water and stuff like that, utility fees have gotten really expensive. So, starts with the land. And also, I guess the first thing I would tell them is be ready to spend money. Like you have to be ready to spend money
before the process even starts.
And, people I've had clients that have bought property and wanted to develop it. And so we help them walk through, okay, you need to, get with a geotech, you need to get with a surveyor. And they're like, well, why do we need to spend, $3,000 on a survey when, and it's like, well, because we got to know where the property is and what, we're required to have those corners and those dimensions.
You got to do a wetland study, make sure there's no wetlands.
Absolutely. You got to get your environmental study done. There's just a lot of little components along the way that, each one individually may not be a huge deal, but once you start throwing all these things together, especially again with a homeowner, now it adds up really quickly. And a big difference is when you're dealing with a homeowner, they're spending their own money. Developers, contractors, when we're building stuff, it mentally feels a lot different when you're spending, quote unquote, your company's money. And it may, at the end of the day, it's all our money anyway, because we own the company. But it provides you that kind of mental buffer between the two. And when you're dealing with homeowners who are spending their own money, it's a lot more emotional.
Well, like you said earlier, they picked out a floor that's now on back order.
Yeah.
And you either stop the build or they need to pick something different.
Right.
It's just a spec builder of your own. You just pivot.
Exactly. You're able to quickly change. And and I think that's your question, going back to it of what advice would I give is get real comfortable with the idea, again, of spending money and that what you think you're going to spend probably isn't going to cover it.
I think in the buyer's minds, from my experience in dealing with people, they think they're going to buy a piece of land and then immediately break ground and start building a home. And they don't understand all the work that goes in just to getting to the point where you're able to start building the home.
Absolutely. And it's only getting harder too. Everything from the permit process to the energy codes to, all those little pieces that come together before you're even able to put a shovel in the ground,
right,
are getting a lot harder and taking a lot more time. As an example, the last two spec homes that we built, the entry-level specs that we did in Port Orchard, or it's in Kitsap County, but it's just Port Orchard address. It was a floor plan that we built before, super familiar, super easy, pretty straightforward, on a lot that was a part of a plat, so nothing tricky about the lot. Utilities there, all ready to go, right? Mm-hmm. We applied for the permit, and it took 1 week shy of 6 months for the permits to get issued. And that was about as straightforward as it can go, and that is just a building permit. It used to be 3 weeks, and now
that's Kitsap County.
That's Kitsap County.
Is it Pierce slower?
Pierce is slower. I have not applied in Pierce recently. Okay. I have one application out in Pierce right now that's been about 3 months.
Have you dabbled in King County at all?
We have done one in, just one in King County. But that was actually City of Kirkland.
Okay.
That one took a hot minute. We've done one in Island County, up on Whidbey. That was actually pretty quick. They're a smaller smaller jurisdiction.
What about Mason County? How are they?
I have not worked in Mason County. It's interesting though. I had a conversation yesterday with somebody that, from what they were saying, that Mason County is kind of now like arms wide open, like, hey, like Kitsap, bothering you, you don't want to put up with that, come on over here, we'll make it real
That's
easy
what I've
for
kind
you.
of heard. Yeah.
That's
what I was
and
asking.
again, I have no personal experience with that, but that's the story I was told, at least. So
Are they the Wild Wild West right now? They're like, let's go.
Kind of. Well, and if you think about it, it makes sense. I mean, we're seeing so much growth in Gig Harbor and Port Orchard and Kitsap in that area, and 20, 30 years ago, even Gig Harbor was kind of out there. Like we were a small town and kind of like, oh man, it's really far away. And that's, at least for me, that's the perception I have of Mason County, right? It's like, oh, that's out there a ways. But as the growth continues, it's going to head that direction big time.
And with people working remotely,
yes,
they can easily. What is Mason County? An hour away from downtown Tacoma?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's not that far.
No.
Yeah.
So
and
if you
people
work
are just
remote,
yeah,
downtown Tacoma is only an hour.
For sure.
You don't have to commute.
Yeah.
It's not a bad place to live.
Not a bad place to live, and
myself.
I think costs are probably a little lower out that direction as well. So, yeah, a lot of appeal.
Waterfront Mason County doesn't sound bad.
Let's go.
Yeah,
I'm here.
And that leasehold got renewed at Cushman for another 99 years. So that's really helped spur a lot of desire to be out by Cushman and Hoodsport.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area.
Yeah,
it really is nice out
canal
there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Any other insights on building?
Insights.
Pitfalls. Things to look for. Things to.
Yeah, let's think.
Eyes
about
wide
that.
open.
Eyes wide open. I mean, head on a swivel always, right? Like,
always.
Yeah, and
here's what I've heard with like county and city inspectors and the building and planning departments.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier to attract flies with honey than it is vinegar, because I've heard people that get confrontational with them. They tend to not move as quickly, but if you are collaborative with them, and I've heard that things can be a little bit easier.
It can be easier. One of the hardest things when you're talking about dealing with inspectors and whatnot is Kitsap County, as an example, has quite a few inspectors. And when you schedule your inspection, you have no way to know who the inspector is going to be. And each inspector kind of has their own little nuance or, things that to them feel very important. And so depending on who the inspector is, you never know, is it going to be, are you going to be just bombarded with questions about your insulation? Is somebody going to, really get on you about what's going on in the crawl space in the attic? Is, somebody really focused on the energy codes that
right.
choices you made? So it's a little bit of a game having to, plan for all the different inspectors' personalities, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a framing inspection as an example. I've had framing inspections that take 28 minutes. I've had framing inspections, no joke, that took almost 4 hours. And again, I think that it just comes down to the inspector. But as you pointed out, overarchingly, I'd say the best thing you can do is be friendly. Attract them with the honey, and be ready to be proactive even while the inspector's there, as you're walking the inspection. Reaching out to subs that you need to come in and make corrections, or making, writing stuff down, like showing that you are present and going to take care of it. And also, there's times where an inspector will flag something in an inspection that needs to get corrected, and they'll say, hey, I'm not going to hold you up, but just I'll check it next time I'm here. So as a builder, for the love of God, make sure you get that corrected before they show up again, right? There's no reason to piss them off unnecessarily. So just do what you say you're going to do, and just treat people well. Like just that's just across the board. Just be nice to people, whether it's subs or clients or inspectors or, permitting folks. If you're just a decent human being, it goes such a long way. And it's just, when you go to them 6 months from now and ask a favor, or you need help with something, it's a lot more likely you're going to get a yes, and a willing yes at that, than if you've, been grumpy with people and treated them like, hey, you're working for me, not with me. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Well, your background in sales has to help so much in that.
Well, sure.
I've known you for a long time. I've seen you in the sales realm way before you started building.
Right.
I know how you treat people.
Yeah.
In sales, in general.
Sure.
And you are a lover of people.
Well, thank you. That feels good to hear. Thank you.
And that goes a long way.
It really does, yeah. And you're right. I'm a background in sales, and dealing with people day in and day out, and it's just a fact of life that not everybody you interact with in life is going to be your favorite person. And so, coming up with tools and ways to approach those more difficult relationships is super important. And I think having a lot of experience under my belt has certainly helped with that.
Yeah, if you treat them how you want to be treated,
there it is.
It goes a long way.
Golden rule, right?
Absolutely.
Golden rule for a reason.
And also be a good listener, so you understand what kind of personality type they are, so you know how to interact with them.
Absolutely, yeah. That's real important. You can learn a lot if you just shut your mouth.
Yeah,
I struggle with that. I like to talk. Like I get excited, I get passionate, I get real, just jazzed up about whatever we're talking about. And sometimes the best thing you can do is just be quiet and listen.
Yeah. Well, with all that said, we appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. This is fun.
Yeah.
First time ever on a podcast. I love it.
So
not the last.
I hope not.
I got a fun question for you.
Yeah.
What's your favorite hole in the wall restaurant in Tacoma?
Oh,
I think I know the answer to this.
Well,
maybe.
Melon seed. I mean, melon seed is good.
Yeah.
I know that's where your head is. We've dined there together. It's quite delicious. Ryan long ago turned me on to Dirty Oscar's Annex. That's always a fun one to go
that's
to.
Really good too.
Wife and I will go over there for a date night every now and then, and it's just kind of a cool spot.
MSM Deli.
I don't know this one yet.
What?
Where's this?
6th Ave.
It's a
good
sub
sandwich.
shop.
Oh my gosh, and I don't know about it.
It's like a New York style legit deli.
Okay, sandwiches are kind of my jam.
It's like generational family run.
No way.
Deli. Yeah.
Okay, we got to
It's
check
a block
that out.
away from DOA.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Other side of the street, just a block towards downtown.
I guess I know where I'm going for lunch then.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming in.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. This has been a blast. I really appreciate it.
Episode 13 coming to an end. And you can follow us on, actually just go to allinuncensored.com.
Yep. Go to allinuncensored.com. We've got a Facebook page, All In Uncensored. And you can follow us on iHeartRadio, Apple iTunes, YouTube. Check out our YouTube channel too. We're going to start posting some funny shorts on there pretty soon.
That is the plan.
Yep.
Spotify. You guys are on Spotify.
We're on Spotify.
Yeah.
That's where I found it.
You know what today is?
It's another great day.
It's another great day.